Hello, this is a Q&A test for the 120 class. Plaintiff attorney is Mr. Fanning, Fanning. Defense is Ms. MS period Barton, Barton. Again, plaintiff attorney, Mr. Fanning, Fanning. Defense is Ms. MS period Barton, Barton. Okay, it's going to start out with plaintiff attorney. Ready? Okay, so I guess then what you're saying is you don't know if she was impaired by medications one way or the other. Would that be accurate? Misstates testimony. It doesn't really misstate anything. Go ahead and answer. Calls for speculation, lacks foundation, assumes facts. Overruled. I will say that I didn't see any signs of impairment. Did you test her in any way, officer? No. For being impaired for drugs? No. Did you perform any tests on her? I didn't. Did you have anybody perform tests on her? I didn't. I'm telling you she was under the effects of some medication. Whether it was impaired or not, we'll leave it to an expert to decide that. But I'm letting you know that I talked with her, and I'm not throwing anything in to argue. She's got a very good lawyer here. What I want to know from you today is, without having tested her for impairment from medication, okay, and a woman who you mentioned was upset, and without having anybody else test her for impairment for medications, would it be a fair and an accurate comment that you really, as you sit here today, don't know if she was impaired from any medications? Is that calls for speculation? You've got to let him finish. Would that be fair and accurate? Calls for speculation, lacks foundation. Overruled. No is the best answer I can give you. No, it's not fair and accurate? No. Did you know that she was impaired? Lacks foundation, objection. You may answer. Assumes facts, calls for speculation. Sustained on those grounds. I'm only asking you, did you know if she was impaired? I do not believe she was impaired. I'm not asking for your belief right now. I may in a minute. But what I want to know is, as a matter of certainty, do you know if she was impaired by drugs or medications? Same objections, Your Honor. Sustained. Rephrase the question. If we go on to page 3 goes on, evidently, what you did here, you documented that Joey Dressel was transported by McCormick, correct? And were you present when they actually picked his body up? Yes. And you mentioned that when you got to the scene, I know you didn't know if he'd been moved or not. Did you see where he was at the scene of the accident? Yes, I saw where he was laying. Okay, can you describe for me as best you can? Was he in the intersection area? Yes. And if we Washington runs generally east and west, is that right? Correct. There may be some other areas here, but for today's purposes, we're going to consider Washington going east and west, and Oak kind of T-intersects with Washington, okay? Correct. You know what I mean by the term intersects? Yes. Okay, if we wanted to, I want to find out where the intersection you saw his body. How far to the west of this intersecting line, of the west line of Oak, would his body have been? I would put his body as approximately 2 feet west of the west intersecting line of Oak Road. 2 feet east of the west intersecting line. Okay, so he was actually before you get into the intersection. So it would be in the intersection, but not quite past the actual line, the west intersecting line of Oak. Okay, just for my notes, the west line, these folks were westbound, correct? Correct. Okay, our word list for this test is oak, capital O-A-K, Washington, capital W-A-S-H-I-N-G-T-O-N, Joey Dressel, capital J-O-E-Y, Dressel, capital D-R-E-S-S-E-L-L, and McCormick, capital M-C, capital C-O-R-M-I-C-K. That is one word. So it's capital M, lowercase c, capital C-O-R-M-I-C-K. That's the name of the ambulance company. And that is it for the word list. That concludes our Q&A test. Good luck.